Your grandma hired me to find you. Those 7 words changed everything. For 3 years, my parents called every employer I applied to and told them I had a criminal record. I didn't. Never been arrested. Never even had a parking ticket. But by the time I was 27, I was living in a homeless shelter, washing up in gas station bathrooms, and eating 1 meal a day because no one would hire me. My father texted me every week, "Come home and apologize. Maybe I'll stop." Then, that Tuesday morning, a woman knocked on the shelter door. My name is David Cross. I'm 28 now, but let me take you back. Harlan, Ohio, population 4,000. My dad, Gerald, worked as a plant manager. My mom, Denise, volunteered at the food drive. On paper, we were the perfect family. Behind closed doors, things ran differently. I didn't have my own house key until I was 20. When I started bussing tables at 14, my paychecks went into a joint account my mom opened for safekeeping. I graduated valedictorian. My guidance counselor talked scholarships. My dad said college is for people who can't work with their hands. So I stayed. Every night at dinner, you've got a roof, food, and family. What else does a man your age need? The week I turned 25, I realized I'd be 40 standing in the same kitchen. That scared me more than anything my dad ever said. I applied to a hardware store in Millfield. They wanted an interview. 2 days later, something felt off at dinner. My dad looked at me strangely. My mom washed already clean dishes. The next morning, the manager shook my hand, then sat me down. "Someone called yesterday, said you had a felony theft charge." "That's not true." "I'm sorry, we can't move forward." I drove home in silence. My dad sat on the porch with his newspaper. "How was your day, son?" "Fine." Over 6 weeks, I applied to 4 more places. Every single one canceled within 48 hours. One owner was honest. "Someone called about you, said you had a criminal record." That night, I searched my mom's sewing room. In her desk drawer, beneath fabric scraps, I found a small blue notebook. Down the left column, names of every place I applied. Down the right, red check marks. Every single one. My mother had a list. She was destroying me. The next morning, I put the notebook on the kitchen table. "Explain this." Her hand stopped mid-pour. Coffee spilled, then the tears came. "You went through my things." "You called my employers. You told them I'm a criminal." "I did it because I love you." My dad set his toast down. "We're protecting you, David. If you don't stop, I'm leaving." He didn't blink. You walk out that door, you walk with nothing. No money, no documents. I packed 1 backpack. When I opened the front door, my mom stood in the hallway. "If you leave, you're dead to us." My dad stood behind her, silent. I checked my bank account. 0. Years of paychecks, birthday cash from GrandMa Maggie, every dollar gone. My mom had been on the account since I was 16. "I need my birth certificate and social security card." "Those belong to this house," my dad said. Then he closed the door. I walked down the driveway at 9:47 on a Tuesday night with $12 in my pocket, no ID, and nowhere to go. I found the shelter 2 days later. 20 beds, shared bathroom. Linda Marsh ran the shelter. You don't have to explain why you're here. You just have to want to get back up. I started replacing my documents. Birth certificate by mail, temporary ID from the DMV. While I waited, I washed dishes at the shelter. I kept applying for jobs, farther out now. A restaurant in Granton wanted to host. I interviewed on a Tuesday. Thursday morning, the manager called. Someone emailed us a document. Looked like a police report. My father had fabricated official-looking paperwork. He'd upgraded from phone calls to forgery. That evening, my phone buzzed. "Still cold out there?" I deleted it. Linda mentioned a woman had come to the shelter asking about me. Left a business card. Ruth Kalin, private investigator. Months passed. Then my mom called the shelter pretending to be a social worker, claiming I had a history of violence, trying to get me removed. I called Ruth Kalin. She came the next morning, mid-50s, short gray hair, a brown leather briefcase. "Your grandma hired me 10 years ago." I stared at her. 10 years? "She paid me a retainer for a decade of surveillance on your parents. Her instructions: monitor, document, and when it got bad enough, find you and give you this." The briefcase had my name on it in my grandmother's handwriting. Inside was an envelope. "David, if you're reading this, things have gotten bad. I spent 30 years married to a man just like your father. I know how the walls close in. I spent my last years making sure you wouldn't be trapped forever. Inside is your way out. Use it for freedom. I love you, Grandma Maggie." Ruth laid out 5 years of documentation, recordings of 37 calls my mother made to employers, copies of forged police reports traced to my parents' IP address, photographs of that blue notebook taken through their kitchen window. At the bottom, trust documents. My grandmother had sold her farm for nearly $300,000. With interest, it had grown to $340,000. The sole beneficiary? Me. Why didn't she just give it to me before? She wrote a note. "If I give it to him now, Gerald will find a way to take it. He has to need it first." I had my temporary ID. I had my birth certificate. I had everything. A lawyer named Ellen Briggs reviewed the evidence. "This is defamation per se. We have 37 calls, forged documents, 3 years of damages." She filed the lawsuit. My father was served on a Monday morning. My mother was served an hour later at the grocery store. By noon, half the town had heard. Gerald called 14 times. I didn't answer. A text came. "You're going to regret this." My mother started calling neighbors, telling them through tears that her son was suing her for loving him too much. But court records are public. People read them. They saw the evidence. The town didn't turn on them because I asked. They turned because the math stopped adding up. Gerald represented himself. His handwritten response: "This is a family matter. The court has no jurisdiction over a father's right to protect his child." The judge disagreed. Default judgment, $85,000 in damages. He didn't pay. Ellen filed a lien on his house. I sat in a lawyer's office when the judgment came through. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Tired." He offered me a job, administrative assistant. I started the following Monday. With the trust funds, I rented a 1-bedroom apartment. I bought a used Honda. I opened a bank account with only my name on it. I bought groceries for the first time without asking permission. The quiet was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. 3 months later, a letter arrived from my mother. "Dad says he's sorry. Come have Thanksgiving. We can put this behind us." I read it twice. Dad says he's sorry, not I'm sorry, not I was wrong. I wrote back through my lawyer. "Love does not include sabotaging your child's ability to survive. Please respect the court order. Do not contact me again." Gerald sold the house to satisfy the lien. He and Denise moved to a trailer park. He tells everyone his son was brainwashed by a lawyer. He'll probably tell that story until he dies. I'm 28 now. I work in a law office. I'm saving for community college. I have an apartment, a used Honda, and a cat named Maggie. I don't talk to my parents. I haven't closed the door forever, but the key is mine now. My grandmother spent 30 years with a man who controlled everything. But she saved me. She planned it 10 years in advance. She hired a private investigator, set up a trust, wrote a letter she hoped I'd never need. That's what real love looks like. Not control dressed as concern, not sabotage disguised as protection. Love makes a plan for your freedom, even when it costs everything.